everyone. Welcome back to Artventure from the Universe. I'm Tuni, your host. Join me to explore the art adventures of some widely known experts in different creative fields in Australia. And for today's episode, we have the honor to be joined by Mr. Phillip Quast. He's the first actor to have won the Laurence Olivier Award for Best Actor in a Musical 3 times. And he's best known for his role as Inspector Javert in the stage musical Les Miserables and in the Les Miserables, the Dreamcast in concert. So, hello, Phillip.
Hello, Tony. It's lovely to meet you.
It's
lovely
lovely
to be here
to
today.
see you. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to some very interesting stories from you.
Well, I hope so. I'm known for being talkative.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't mind talkative.
Because I'm so enthusiastic. I love young people, and teaching's a great part of my life. And
Sure.
I think stories are an important part of what we do.
Yes.
I learnt from older actors, and they passed on things to me, including their craft.
Yeah. So, where are you from in Australia?
Well, I'm from a place that's northwest New South Wales, a place called Tamworth.
Okay.
But I grew up on a turkey farm.
Turkey farm.
Yeah, we raised turkeys.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
And it seems a long way from a turkey farm to acting. But
Yes.
it for me it was a natural progression, because growing up on a farm in the country, isolated, I went to a one-teacher school. That's a school that has there were only 13 people in it,
Wow.
and I was the only one in my class. But being on a farm felt exactly the same as being part of a theatre troupe, or in on a film set, or in a musical,
Yes.
because it's teamwork.
Yes.
And I felt very comfortable going from a family, which is a whole heap of people working together.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My father owned the farm, but at night time you do a hard day's work, and you come at night time, you'd eat the food you ate, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And that felt exactly the same with theatre. When you come together and you try to put on a show, you all have to work together. It's not just the actors, everyone has their job. And it's always been my great joy as a result of having that upbringing. It feels like that prepared me for my work as an actor.
Yeah. So you said that from farming to acting, it seemed like a long way. So what happened
No.
along the way that bring acting to you?
Well, I left, when I finished school, I had the decision to make whether I'd stay on the farm with my father and brother, my younger brother, or whether I'd go to university. So I went to go to a university about 100 kilometres away to do an
Wow.
arts degree. There's this thing about having something behind you, like a profession, and it was probably going to be teaching. And so I went to do an arts degree, majoring in English. And when I went to the orientation week, there was a man there who was going to start a drama course. And what had happened to me in the last few years of high school was that the school started putting on Gilbert and Sullivan operettas.
Yes.
Do you know Gilbert and Sullivan? Yeah.
I can look it up.
Yeah, look it up. They were a strange English sort of operetta with the music teacher said, "Why doesn't the football team come in and join the musicals?" And I was in the football team.
Oh.
And so he said, there's lots of interesting things there, including for me, there was women, they said girls.
Oh.
And, I know that's not the correct thing to say, but the football team said, yeah, let's all go in. So we went in, played policemen and pirates, and it became this tradition that the football team would be in the school musical.
Wow.
And I did 2 years in the school musicals at school, and playing football at the same time.
Yes. And did
And
you
then-
get any
Yeah,
girls?
I had some lead roles. Yeah, I got some lead roles, and I discovered that I could sort of sing.
Wow, okay.
The reason I think I was able to sing was I've never had singing lessons, because I had space. When you're out in this huge country and land, I would listen to musicals on the record player, and I would experiment with trying to make the same sound.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's very hard if you're living in an apartment and you've got neighbours. You can't make a sound.
Right.
So it's very important to go out into the open space and feel free. So I'd go out and just try and copy the singers that I
Right.
liked hearing, and I eventually found a way of being able to make a sound that didn't hurt, or just my voice. I found my voice, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Like
totally.
a dog learns to bark, and all of a sudden the voice is there. But the freedom came from space. And so when I went to university during the orientation week, there was a man there who had a little stand up and said, "I'm starting the drama department." And I thought, that's a bit interesting. And I went and talked to him, and he was such a fascinating man because he was like my father.
Yeah.
He looked like my father, and he made theatre sound exactly like a football team.
Oh.
And said we can put on productions, and I'd had a taste of it, and it felt just like working on a farm.
Oh.
Does that make sense? You labour together, and and you put a meal. You get a meal together at the end of the day.
Yes.
If that makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
Yes. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was at Armidale University, I did 1 year, and that man who started the drama course got another job running a major theatre company in Australia, down in South Australia, in Adelaide. And so he was going to leave the drama course, and he said, "Look, why don't you come and join me?" And I thought, I could be a professional actor. But he went off to NIDA, which is Australia's National Institute of Dramatic Art.
Yes.
And he went to audition a whole heap of young actors to take down, including Mel Gibson,
Oh.
Judy Davis, all these incredible actors. And then he realised that I wasn't trained enough. So he said, "Look, I think you should go and do some training." So I applied for NIDA, and I did my degree course with NIDA. When I finished that for 3 years, I went and joined his company. And then suddenly I was an actor.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. Yes, I did 24 plays in 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is one every 4 weeks. We'd be working at night and rehearsing another one during the day.
So what did your father say when you shifted from English to acting?
It's a hard one. I'm not sure. They always supported me. I think my mother liked to sing a bit.
Oh, okay.
And so there was that amateur thing. We also had a pianola in the house.
Ah,
Do you know a pianola? It's a pedal piano.
okay.
You put a roll of paper in and you pedal it, and all the people in the country had them.
Ah,
And so we used to sit around the piano and sing. No one could play. There's no time to learn the piano when you're on a farm.
yes.
So we had this pedal piano, and they were quite common here in Australia in the 40s, 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd had a lot of experience singing on that as well. I think once I got my first job, I think he felt, that's fine, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was quite supportive. And during the holidays, of course, when I wasn't working, I'd go back to the farm and work.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And it's part of the job as an actor is to actually learn different skills. So for me, even though I've been an actor now for 45 years, I do carpentry, I cook, I'm a fisherman, because acquiring the skills you need are still the same thing. I think actors are often very, very good at other skills, if that does, and including improving your education skills.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was very well educated as an actor, and I became what we call an autodidact. I became interested in the academic side because language was really important. So I became a reader. I didn't read any books. And I became fascinated about language and how language is put together, and history, the etymology, the history of language. Unfortunately, I can't speak another language. Most Australians, English and Americans can. We can't speak many languages. And I speak a little bit of German, but a sad thing for me is I never learnt another language, because I find now as a teacher, the best students are the ones that are multilingual. Because they think faster.
Yeah.
They're used to listening.
Yeah.
Because, I teach at NIDA now, the National Institute of Dramatic Art here. I've been teaching there when I'm not acting. I've been teaching there about 10 years. And I think that the most interesting students, especially the Asian students that are coming through now, we've got a lot more, and it's wonderful to see, because we didn't see them being actors before. Their parents wanted them to be doctors and accountants and to look after them.
Right.
But now there's this huge growth in young Asian performers.
Yes.
And because they are bilingual or multilingual, sometimes trilingual, they're very, 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 very quick. And they also appreciate English better.
No. Okay. I really like it when you associate acting with farming, because like at the end of the day, it's teamwork and it's creating something big together.
Well, I sort of feel like being on a film set is like being on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
I'm the fighter pilot. I fly the plane, but I can't do it without the man that cleans the toilet, and there's a chain of command, but I need the mechanic. I need the person to really make sure I've got the right diet in order to fly that plane perfectly. You might be the starring role, but you cannot do it without the team. And on film, you cannot do it without the sound person or the grip or the editor. You're in everyone else's hands. You have to trust everyone else. So the main thing is you have to do your job. And a farm is the same thing. And you have a responsibility for looking after animals, because if you don't, your farm doesn't work.
Was it hard to get opportunities when I know that after you graduated, you worked for that company. Was it like competitive at the time to get a role?
I don't think it was as competitive as it is now.
Oh, okay.
Because we just didn't have the acting schools, the drama schools we've got now. Because there was just a bit of television, terrestrial television. There was no streaming, there are so many opportunities. Also, it's easy now for younger actors to make their own films. You can make them on your phone. Before, you needed a whole big camera. You might be able to get a 16mm camera or a Super 8, but editing was expensive and you had to have a whole other skills. Now people can they've got the software to do their own editing. So it was competitive in that there were only 3 or 4 acting schools in the whole of Australia.
Yeah.
Now there are so many. There wasn't much musical theatre. The one thing that I'm grateful for was that I was able to have a multifaceted career. So I've done film, television, including Play School, which is a children's program I did for about 17 years, where you look right at camera and go, oh, hello, and you sing little songs to kids, and you talk to them, and you say, oh, I've got to be here, and you sing little songs, and the kids follow you. So I learned how to speak to the actual camera.
Oh.
And I did that, and that was a skill. Then I went off and I worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company in England as well, only because I became interested in that language.
Yeah,
So I suppose the way I managed to have a successful career was to be diverse.
Okay.
I think it's harder to be more of a diverse actor now. Perhaps you have to specialise a bit more. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, to be honest. But there is a connection between film acting and stage acting and musicals. You need to be a good actor to be a really good musical theatre performer. You need to speak well.
Speak well.
Well, I don't mean posh. I just think the best way to work on your acting is to read as much as possible, to not be lazy in the way that you talk in everyday life.
Right.
So if you want to go up and ask for a cup of coffee, you don't go, can I have a cup of coffee? You actually go up and connect with the person you're ordering off.
Oh, cool.
You make eye contact and you engage with them. You look right at them and you say, oh, look, I'd like a long black, please.
Yeah.
You don't go, oh, I can have a long, because that's what acting's about.
Yes.
I have to engage, really engage with you. And to listen.
Yeah. So that's can be like daily practice, you know?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that go into it. You know, I'm aging now. I've had 2 knee replacements and a hip replacement because I've done a lot of shows.
Yeah.
A lot of long running shows. My body's a bit worn out. But as a teacher, I'm aware of addictive behaviour. Mobile phones, I think, aren't helpful for young actors because you're like that. And you got to say, oh, can we start acting? Oh. You put the phone down and you've got to be switched on. And if you've got the habit of looking down every time and then going send, that's not the same as going, I want something. You know, do you want that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Mobile phones are a little bit, they're not active. So I'm aware that I can be as addicted to a mobile phone, and I've seen technology in some ways which is fantastic for actors because you can watch so many things. But your job as an actor is not just to mimic. You watch, think, learn, have time to think. Not
Yes. Yeah, I understand.
read, because reading helps create imagination images.
Right.
If you don't
Totally
read
agree.
enough, you don't imagine. So that when you're acting, you can go, oh, I was walking down this road and I saw, do you know, I'm actually seeing it. If you don't read a lot and read a lot of stories, then your brain doesn't work as hard. You need it really quick for acting.
Yeah. So speaking of play school, it was obviously one of your first gigs, you know, and you kept coming back throughout the years.
Yeah.
So you just shared that you learned how to actually speak to the camera,
Yeah,
you know?
and be real.
Yeah. And what else did you get out of that show?
Well, it's technically very good because you've got to learn all the different shots. You've got to learn how film cuts. So you've got to remember I go from that camera to that camera, then back to that camera. And you've got to be multitasking. And film is very much like that. Film is not actually about feeling emotion. Film is actually about hitting your mark. I've got to stand there and I can see it down there, but I can't look down it. And yet I've got to stay connected with you and walk to that spot. It's quite technical.
Yeah.
And physical.
Yeah.
And so you have to do a great deal of very, very technical things. And stage is the same. You have to be very, very technical, you know, make sure you hit marks. Your eyes got to catch the right light. You've got to speak to the other actor. You've got to be heard by the audience. You have to think about looking after your voice. You can't scream. You've got to remember moves and choreography, and yet you've got to be relaxed.
Right.
So
right.
play school taught me to have fun
Yeah.
and play. It's play.
Have fun while being technical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of
You've still got to practice your scales to be a concert pianist.
Right. Wow.
That's voice work every day. Ba 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 ba. You know, da 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 do do do. You know, all those.
Right.
It's hard.
So everyone on that show must be a multitasker.
I think so. I think, and it keeps the child alive in you.
Yeah.
Because in order to be an actor, even training to be an actor is to going back and remembering what it was like to be a child again.
Right.
And realizing that play without fear of judgment
Yes.
is the most important thing. Because what makes us, we're free as children, we play, and then we have to go to school and we're told to be quiet, and then we start having our mental problems, because where we've been free to play, we're told to sit still,
Yeah.
subdue our imaginations because you've got to do this. And then when you train as an actor and you start having fun again, you go back and remember what it was like to play.
Yes. Yes.
And when you're free to play, you're not frightened of falling over and making a mistake.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Very interesting. How about Les Miserables, which is totally different from play school? And I read that you auditioned for just a place in the chorus.
Yes,
but
I
then you got one of the main roles instead, like Inspector.
Well, Javert,
Javert,
Inspector
yeah.
Javert, yes. I didn't know what Les Mis was.
Oh,
Everyone had been in Australia, because I wasn't interested in musicals. I'd done one musical. I'd done a musical called Candide, and I thought I would never do another one.
okay.
And I was a little blonde, curly, who sang very high, who sang, "Is this all then, this the world?" I was really light, high tenor singing.
Yeah.
And then I went in to audition for Les Mis along with
Yeah.
everyone else, and everyone wanted these coveted roles because they'd seen it in the West End and Broadway, I think. And I
Yes.
didn't know anything about it. So,
So
I
how
went.
did you react to the news?
Well, what happened is I did a very naughty thing.
Okay.
I went in, and we were given a piece of music, and I tried to sing it in front of the audition panel, and my voice cracked
Oh,
because I hadn't sung for 3 or 4 years. I didn't. And then I went to sing again, and
Okay.
it went really high note, and I went, and then I went to sing it again, and then I got very angry. And I swore and said, well, if you wanted to hear how I could effing sing, you should have got me to sing effing scales. And I grabbed my music and walked out.
and
Then they went,
that's Javert.
"That's Javert." They went, "Go back and get him." Because I went from being really nice to bang.
That's the most random thing.
Yeah. I was so angry and so embarrassed. And then they said, go back and get him. So
Oh my
they said,
God.
"Come back here." And I said, "What for?" And then... So they came back, and Claude Michel, who wrote it, said, "Have you heard Stars?" And I said, "I haven't heard anything." And he said, played the piano, and he goes, "It goes like this." He went, "There, out in the darkness." He's French. And so I went, "There, out in the darkness." I mocked him.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Go away and learn it."
Okay.
So then I came back, and then I auditioned for the original creator, Trevor Nunn. And I went in with my leg in plaster, because I'd been doing a movie and I'd broken these bones in my feet.
Wow. Okay.
And by that stage, I was hoping to get the plaster off and go and get a job as a cook on a boat called the Nella Dan, which was the supply ship to Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a choice to go and work as a cook on a boat or do Les Mis.
And
And then I just
it's obvious.
auditioned for I thought, oh, well, I'll try Les Miserables.
Yeah.
Because I thought the director was the most amazing man. And he was. He ran the Royal Shakespeare Company for 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ironically, then later on, I'd seen him, or when I was before Les Mis, I'd seen a production of Macbeth he'd done with Judi Dench and Ian McKellen, Gandalf. And I thought, I'd love to work with that director. And then I ended up working with him.
Yeah. Do you remember how you felt after the opening night of Les Mis?
I couldn't get over the audience reaction.
Wow. Okay.
But the wonderful thing was that nobody knew who I was, because I looked nothing like it. I had a wig on and things, and some makeup, and so I just came out smiling. And then I remember the applause. It was quite. I'd never heard anything like that before. It's been around a long time now, but it changed. It changed a lot of people's lives.
Yes.
Because then I went on to, over the years, I've met a lot and taught a lot of young people who wanted to be Eponine and wanted to be Marius, and not as many who wanted to be Javert, although now they are, because they're getting older. And I was quite young. I was only about 28, I think, 28.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up, so I played it in various places for another, 5 or 6 years, 6 years, yeah.
Yeah. But that's like, from your story, I just reckon, opportunities come at the most random moment.
Well, a lot of it is luck. I mean, it is, there's no doubt about it.
But I think
But
you were meant for that, actually.
Look, I think as an actor you've got to have an enormous amount of drive and ambition. But you must never let it cloud you as a person. Because luck just doesn't just happen, in a sense.
Yeah.
I think if you want something too much,
And you work for it?
and that it can cloud your spirit.
Okay.
I think you still have to have a freedom inside you.
Yeah.
Look, all the great people that I've worked with, I think, in the end, are quite wonderful human beings.
Right.
I'm not religious, but I believe that the greater spirit you have for wanting success for others, the better career you'll have.
Wow. Yeah.
In other words, if you can admire someone's talent without being jealous, that admiration will help your growth. If you are jealous, you don't grow.
Right. I mean, your words are so wise, I don't even know what to say.
Well, I do believe that. I feel that things will happen to you if you want the best for everyone.
Yeah. It's not always about you.
It's never about you. That's what I mean about the teamwork. Acting is all about the other person. You want to cause a reaction in someone. You want to affect them. Otherwise, you can't do anything. If you make it all about you, it becomes petulant, self-centered, boring, and you want to sort of get the person to say, wake up. Make it, and then you open eyes to receive things.
Yeah. Yeah. Give and take.
Look, I think that thing, it is better to give than to receive. I think the more you give, the more you receive.
Yes,
I
exactly.
honestly mean that. And it's not, and as I said, I'm not a religious person, but you grow more. The more you try to affect someone and help them, then you can cause change and you'll get more back.
Yeah. Speaking about receiving, you have received quite a number of awards. In fact, you're even the first actor to have received 3 Olivier
In
awards.
a musical, I think.
Yeah, in a musical. Yeah.
I think there are others that have received some for a play and then a musical. Roger Allam, who's wonderful, was the original Javert. I think he's received a supporting Olivier award in a play or something. Yes.
I bet you feel different every time you receive that award.
Yes, because they're different plays. So and some of my best work I didn't get awards for. I've been 4 times nominated as well.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't win one year. What went wrong? I don't know. It's a joke.
So how did you feel the first time?
I was in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I'd done Sunday in the Park with George in England, and I didn't know it was on. And then I got a phone call to say from my dresser.
Okay.
So I've just come back from the Olivier Awards. I knew I would be nominated, and they'd sent me a certificate in. But I was back in Australia, and they said, you won. And I went, what? And they said, the Laurence Olivier Award. And then I went back to England about 18 months later, and a friend of mine who picked it up on the night handed it to me in a brown paper bag. And I gave it to my parents. I kept it in the toilet for a little while, as Emma Thompson keeps all her academies and Oscars, but then I gave them to my mum and dad.
They must have been thrilled.
Well, because they were up at the farm in the country, because I was a bit embarrassed. Now my parents have died, I've had to sort of own them really. And so I've finally got them back in my house, and they're beautiful. So that was the first one. The second one I got...
Did you think like, okay, I did it again? Or...
No, there's an element of embarrassment slightly about awards, because although the Oliviers are different, because they're a mixture of professionals and people from the public who have to go and see every play. So they tend to be a little bit more objective rather than subjective. So the second one, I think, was, I'm not sure, I got them mixed up, was Sam Mendes, the famous film director, who directed me in The Fix. And I played a person who had polio, stuttered, was gay, and was on crutches, and ended up in a wheelchair. And I loved doing that. It was exhausting. And it felt like something new. And I remember feeling embarrassed because one of my fellow cast members was nominated as well.
Oh,
so we were up against each other.
Yeah.
And that rubbed against my teamwork ethic. I thought, we should share it together, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So you thank them, because you do thank them.
Yes.
You know. So I felt that I wasn't quite happy about that, because
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
My third one was in South Pacific, and I was at the National Theatre, and I received that on stage after a performance. I didn't know. We're bowing, and the next minute a television camera bursts into the Olivier Theatre, and then someone walked on stage, the actor who'd played Dot in Sunday in the Park with George with me, carrying the Olivier Award. So I just got the award after the performance that I'd done that night in front of the audience.
Wow.
And
that's beautiful.
And on the Olivier stage.
Yes.
And the audience gave me a standing ovation because they'd seen the performance that you'd done.
Yeah.
So you literally got that was quite touching.
Yes.
I remember putting it down on the stage, right in the centre, and looking at it and going, because that's where Laurence Olivier would have stood.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm just hearing this from you, but kind of feeling, moved by it.
Yeah, it was.
So I can tell that was one of your highs in
Oh, well, and to get it in front of the cast and be able to turn around and go, thank you. You are this. And this theatre company that I'm in is, thank you for that. And I feel very proud to have it, but I feel honoured to be able to lead you.
Right. Yeah. So, because you are an achieved actor, you have your highs. How about your lows?
I've had mental health problems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's been a really wonderful... Meditation has been fantastic for me.
But did acting...
Well, it goes hand in hand with... sometimes you get depressed as an actor because you are sometimes are not in shows. I might start again on this.
Sure.
Sometimes you put a lot of work into a show.
Yes.
And it's not as successful.
Yes.
Because it's an amorphous thing. It's what we call alchemy. You know, you're making gold out of lead. No one quite knows how it works. And you can think you're going to be in something wonderful and you have this fantastic experience, but it just doesn't work because it misses the zeitgeist, or it misses the drama or the fashion at the time. Or I remember doing a television show and then COVID came.
Oh, right.
And then the show never got seen because the whole landscape changed.
Yeah.
But again, it's not about me.
Okay, yeah.
If you sit and think, oh, it's all about me and I didn't have that success, if you sit and think, well, how does someone else feel?
Right.
You just did the best you can. And also, you end up meeting, even the shows that aren't successful, you meet the most wonderful people that become lifetime friends. And there's always someone to learn off.
Right.
There's always something to learn. I've only done one job for money, and I didn't have a very good time.
Mm.
Because a lot of actors plan, oh, if I do that, then I can do this, and that'll happen. And but you can't do that. It's like playing chess. You never know what the other move is going to be. The best thing is to do that job the best of your ability without planning ahead, because you don't know what's going to happen.
And then you just go with the flow?
Well, I think you have to.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking outside yourself, you're not present.
Mm. Okay. Cool.
And that's a good thing to teach young people. We're in a world where there are so many variables, but the wonderful thing about teaching and being in the room is that we are in this together as a team, and we can create anything here, and the outside world disappears.
Right.
Just for that time, and that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah. But one thing I think, because I can feel that there's a lot of positive energy in you. You tend to look at things at positive perspectives, but for some people it's not that easy to do that, so how to achieve that?
Well, the big challenge we all have is fear.
Yeah.
Right? Fear of failure.
Right.
And I think I see as a teacher that that's greater now, because there are so many areas you can be judged from, especially the internet, body image, everything.
Yeah.
I think there's a journey to be made where you've got to try and shut a lot of those things out of your life, because they're not helpful to you as an actor. As I said, I've already said, the mobile phones and social media does not help you as an actor. It can make you fearful.
Yeah.
Because you're never quite present. You're worried when you're doing something, you're worried about what people are going to think of it. And that doesn't help your growth. I work very hard at trying not to gossip. It's hard, but don't talk about other people. Don't say, if you haven't got anything decent to say, don't say it. Because when you come to try and solve a problem and create something, you will be fearful. Because if you know what it's like to talk about other people, you know that they're talking about you.
Yeah.
So, in my experience, when you say positive, I've learned to be more positive and it's easy to be positive if you take the negative things away. You're just naturally positive.
I know, but we're surrounded by negativity all the time.
Well,
in every aspect.
Yes, we are. And that's partly education, because here in Australia we're teaching outcome-based learning. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand? Outcome-based learning is where you basically you ask the teacher to tell me what I write to pass the exam. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a product of that. I was a product of what we call heuristic learning or conservatoire learning. I was a product of an education system where it was important to make mistakes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And it really is important to make mistakes and learn from them. And the teacher goes, oh, that's great. Now, did you ever think of that? Or you might do that. But a part of our education system now is that you've got to get these marks to get on. You've got to, which means you actually never learn to fail. So it's important to do things where you can fail.
Yeah.
And that's why, even as an actor, learn to try and knit. Learn to tie knots. And because if you're not getting that education at school, then there are other ways to do it. Like you can cook and burn your food. Get it wrong. Make it too spicy. Uh, uh, do, go,
Yeah, I understand.
go shopping and think, what will I cook today? And think, make a decision. Say, I'm going to cook for my friends. Cooking's really good. You go to the markets and you look around and go, what'll I cook? Oh, that's that. I'll put that and the colour and that'll go together. I'll go home, invite my friends, put the love in the food, cook it up, and then present it. And they go, oh, I don't like it. And you go, but they're appreciative because you've tried.
Yes, yes.
Or you might make something really fantastic.
The reason I ask you that question is because, the youth, they are vulnerable. And because they are surrounded by negativity every day, especially on the internet, social media. So, and because they are not experienced that, yet, to be able to overcome those obstacles, And for my personal experience, just like you said, you are a product of an education system that it's important to make mistakes. But I have taught students English, and many of them, they were too shy to speak English to me, and because they were afraid of being judged. But I keep telling them that you have to make mistakes so that I know how to fix your mistakes, how to help you fix those mistakes.
Well, I think there's another thing. As I told you, I talked about the word mimic.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch someone on YouTube singing and you try to copy them, what you haven't done is been through the process of how they got there.
Yeah, yeah.
And process is everything. Rehearsing is everything. Learning to try and put it together. That's why cooking relates exactly to acting. You've got to make that there. Those sort of physical skills are really useful and very good for your spirit. So I would say that an actor needs to do other creative things, not just acting.
Yeah.
Writing is really important. Write a poem. Read out and study how to write a poem and try it. Those things will help make you a better actor.
Yeah.
Keep a diary. Read books to keep your imagination. Don't just take the shortcuts to copy. Don't watch someone and think no, to do that, they had to make a mistake or whatever. And I see a lot of acting now which just mimic, and I don't feel anything. And acting is not actually feeling it. The job for the audience is to feel.
Right.
And a lot of actors now go, and they play victim. You can't play victim because that's telling the audience what to feel. You've just got to tell the story. Play the story. How do we overcome the fear of being judged?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's what training's for. That's why courses and acting schools are really important.
Yeah, to provide you with the fundamentals.
To create an environment where it's really important to have an education and to create an acting school or classroom where there's an element of trust that what happens in that class, in that environment is sacred and it's there to be supportive.
Yes.
And in teaching, I push the kids, but they also know that I want the best for them. It's got nothing to do with me. And I believe anyone can do it. It is like sport, a team sport. You've got a coach that has to believe in you, but if you push them too far, you bully them because it's about the coach, but you want the best in them.
Yeah.
And I think that's why training schools and acting schools are really important. I think they're one of the most important things human beings could do now, because everyone has a story to tell. And I think everyone can be an actor.
Yeah. Speaking of training, just interesting that we had an interview with Joy Hopwood.
Yes.
She's an Asian Australian filmmaker.
Yeah.
And she said that for Asian people, like even she had to compromise with her parents to go do another degree, which is quite stable, while still pursuing her passion for filmmaking. So it's quite common in Asia, and actually in Vietnam, like I've seen a lot of people who are interested in acting, but they have to go to other universities to fulfill their parents' wishes.
Yep.
But some of them are brave enough to eventually claim their dream, and they ended up going to acting schools, but they got a late start, like later than their peers. So do you have any advice for them?
Well, you asked me before, how did my father feel about becoming an actor?
Yeah.
I think as a parent, because I have 3 sons, one who's now an actor, and another one who's just decided they want to do it as well.
Wow.
And I'm teaching both of them.
Okay.
They're very happy because they feel like they're doing something which explores their brain. And it may be just because they've come up through that family.
Right.
And the greatest thrill I have is seeing their work ethic. I think if your parents see you work very, very hard at your craft, really hard at it, they will not be as nervous. Because what you want to see is that your child can apply themselves to whatever they do. And I don't mean just love it, but if you go to class and you work hard and they see you reading and they see you writing and they see you, I think they're quite happy for you to do that rather than be off drinking, taking drugs. Or, do you know what I'm saying?
Obviously,
I think if you really want to do it and your parents see you, there's a moment where your parents may tip over. And as I told you, when I was at night, I started teaching there 6, 7 years, there were no Asian students. But now there are so many. First of all, there's a lot more of them on television and film.
Wow.
Here, especially even in Australia, there's amazing, the diversity. There's, and it's a huge market. And it's a market that's about to burst open.
Yes.
Because of technology. And also, most films and musicals are about ordinary people experiencing extraordinary things.
Right, yeah.
So, if you're a student in Vietnam, there will be a film about a young person on a farm whose parents have had or have been damaged or have lost people in the war or the history, and that person might want to have to leave the farm because they might want to study, and but they don't want to because who owns the farm? There's all sorts of wonderful, wonderful stories in Vietnam, and Vietnam's an interesting country because it's been occupied by colonization, so many, and so it's now finally just starting to explore some sort of growth and incredible history. So there are wonderful stories to be told, obviously, and I think there is the possibility for actors to help create those stories, not just American stories.
Of course, yeah. So
or
just
French stories. Or
So just work hard and show your parents how serious you are, how passionate you are.
Yes, I think parents are happy if they see their children working very hard. Doesn't matter what it is. They know if they don't work as an actor that they're still learning life skills.
Yes.
To apply themselves. And we're living a lot longer.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, you can still go back to university at 30.
It's never late.
It's never too late.
Right?
No.
Yeah, it's never too late.
No.
Yeah.
You know, my second son decided at 28 he wanted to be an actor. That's late.
Yeah, pretty, but still, it's still working, right?
Yeah, and he's happy. And he's still...
Yeah.
And the notion of having a full-time job now, especially since COVID, is that a lot of people there's no such thing as a full-time job. Often, people have got 4 or 5 jobs all at once,
True. Yeah.
Yeah, I think even though your parents might not want you, they worry, and they will worry. That's a parent's job. But you don't want to worry your child so much that you inhibit their growth. But if they see you working at it passionately and hard, they really will see that the life skills are there.
Yes, yes, yeah. Very wise words. So you have said that you are pretty diverse in your acting. So is diversity the thing that draws you to a part?
It was for me.
Okay.
It was for me. It's not the same. I've got quite an unusual one. The fact that I can do film and I do television and I teach and I write and I direct and I do.
Okay.
And that's part of me because I'm a bit bipolar.
Okay.
And I love fishing and I love carpentry and I love,
You love everything.
And I love talking, you can hear. I get very passionate.
Yes.
It was for me, but also I didn't want to be slotted down. Because again, the nature of growing up on a farm is that it's seasonal.
Yes.
You grow wheat at this time of year and then that time of year. And on a turkey farm, there's Christmas. And then other times, and I knew that different vegetables grew. I wouldn't like to be growing
just one kind.
One kind of thing all year round. I wanted my life to be seasonal.
Wow.
So I've become sort of a bit of jack of all trades, master of none as such, And also I get sick of it. Once I've done that for a while, I do a musical and go, oh, I don't want to do that now. Done that. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah, so it's never boring to you.
No.
Cool. So after you let's say after you get the role that you're happy with, what do you do? I mean the process.
Well, first of all, I don't think there's a role I've ever wanted. I just think, oh, that's interesting because I'm interested in the director more than anything. That's when the work really starts.
Yeah, how do you prepare?
Reading.
Okay.
Everything.
A lot of reading.
Right, so I'm about to do a play for the Sydney Theatre Company, sort of here in Australia. This might be not irrelevant for time. Okay, I'll just go back. Well, there's a lot to do. Reading.
Yeah.
Research as much as you can.
Yes.
Read the play over and over and over and over and over and over. Don't try and learn it.
Oh, okay.
So if I do a musical, I don't start learning the music. I'm very slow at the music. I read the script. If I'm doing a Shakespeare play, I look up every word and try and find the history of the word, the etymology, and where it came from, knowing that in a different time it meant something else.
Wow, yeah.
I try to build up as many images as I can. I will draw pictures and write things. So when I say a line, or if I read a line, I will make a note of what I think about, so that it starts being in my body.
Right.
Because acting is a physical thing.
Yeah.
If you think on film, I'm talking and I'm making something. I'm chopping this and and then all of a sudden when you come to do your close-ups, the desk's not there, the chair's not there. You're miming everything. You're reaching out of camera and taking something that's not there. It's all physical and imagination. Do you know what I mean? In a master shot on a film, I'm at a desk like this, and on the wide shot, secretary or someone will come in and I'll take the pen and I'll sign that and I'll hand it back to you. On am I leaning too far out? No, okay. On a master shot, on a film, you will be writing something on a desk. Someone will come in, you'll take it, you will do this, you will hand it back, and the person's there, and they go off. Then I suddenly do the close-up. The lights are all moved around, the camera's facing the other way. There's no pen in shot. They might take the desk away. I'm sitting on a box and I'll reach for something like that that's not there. I'll put it down. There might be someone lying on the floor holding the hand pretending to be the desk. And then I'll get the pen and I'll just mime the pen because they can't have the sound on the paper. That's not acting. That's pretendies.
Yeah.
That's imagination.
Yes.
And it's also technical, So when I get the script, I do as many imagining it as I can. I don't know what the design is going to be.
Right.
So that when I start rehearsals, I've got something to offer up the director.
Oh, yeah.
And try not to pre-plan.
Okay. Right.
Because if I pre-plan how to say something, I immediately don't leave myself open for how the other actor might speak.
Yeah, yeah.
And so many people you see when they're acting have prepared their lines or to do their stiff because they haven't actually learned to let go. Yeah, read.
Yeah, I can tell. Like you read and you research so that when you say a line, it's not just saying a line, but you understand that line. But also you leave room for reaction.
Possibility. Because I don't know what the other actor's going to do. I don't know what the director's going to say. The director might say, try something else. And I'll just go, and then just play.
Yeah.
And often, nearly always on film or the thing that's the best is the mistake. Once you actually free yourself up to make a mistake in the rehearsal room or especially choreography, a choreographer will just say, just do something. And if you go and go shy, go, what? Nothing's going to happen. They will have to do it for you, which means you haven't created it. So they will say, a really good choreographer will go, just do something. What would you do? And you might go, and they'll go, oh, I love that bit. And it'll feel real for you because you created it.
Yeah.
And they will take that and a bit of that and they'll put that there for you. And you're helping make it.
Yeah. Right. Good. So I bet after you read and you research, it's never a big problem to memorize the lines,
oh, yes,
right?
it is, as you get older.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of words in there.
So what do you do?
Just have to put in the hours.
Okay.
You just, and also my script, I tell you what I don't do, is I don't highlight my lines. Because the biggest hindrance to creativity is fear and panic. And if you're trying to memorize your lines and you get through that page and it's all highlighted, and you turn the page and there's all those highlighted lines, what are you going to do? You're going to go, oh God, I'll never get there. I'm never going to learn this.
Okay.
So just put something subtle on it. Just put a little pen beside your part. And you've got to do what's called deep learning.
Okay.
Can I describe deep learning?
Sure.
You have to go alone in a room and you've got to turn all devices off. And you've got to commit to a really, a schedule really. So I'm going to do half an hour. Have a clock, do not have a phone. If you're watching the phone for your time, you're not going to learn your lines. Because that in your hand is not the same as looking up and seeing the sun or a clock. That will, I'll tell you what will happen. This is what happens if you look at your phone. And this is how most young people learn lines now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They go into their bedroom and they'll look at the phone like that, different part of the brain, they'll be going, oh, text, and they'll look at the time and go, oh God, I better learn it. So they put the phone over there, you start your lines, you start working. Ding.
Hey guys, this must be familiar to you.
Then you're actually now distracted.
Yes.
It's the different part of the brain that what you need. And I say to them, did you work on this last night? And they go, oh yeah, I did 2 hours. No, I reckon they did about 5 minutes, because it's not the same as that lonely, it's a lonely job of having to put that away, do not go near it, putting a clock up there.
Yeah.
I do another thing too. If I'm in a play or a big show, I will set 2 alarms, not my phone. Because if your phone goes off, you pick it up and look at it and you go, and you look at your messages.
Yeah, yeah.
Have an alarm, not your phone. Have an alarm, the alarm goes off, and set it for 5 minutes later as well.
Sure.
So you go, turn it off, and then go back to sleep, and you lie there, and you start thinking about your play, and you go through it. In 5 minutes, you can get through the whole play almost. And you can, because you're relaxed, because you know that the alarm, if you fall back asleep, the alarm's going to go off again. So I can get an amazing amount of work done in 5 or 10 minutes in the morning if I set the alarm twice. Because that is not part of an actor's brain. And people in Silicon Valley know it, which is why they're not sending their kids to schools that have the internet or mobile phones.
Oh.
And there's been a bit of a study done here. My wife teaches in some schools, all the behavioural problems in schools. Kids go now, the schools that are going and putting their phones into a magnetic box to lock them are having much more behavioural stuff. Even as a student, even when I'm teaching now, I say, can you try not to look at your mobile phones for 20 minutes till after class? Because your brain shuts down.
Yes.
And they want it to shut down so that you can go onto your phone and buy a new phone. And I'm serious.
I know, yeah.
And it's because I'm not being an older person, because I know I can be as addicted to it as you can.
Yeah.
I really have to make an effort to put it away.
And you're not the first guest in our podcast that tell young people to put their phones away. So it's really something to think about here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love my mobile phone, but I don't do Facebook, and I could. A lot of my friends do. I don't do TikTok. I don't do that. I just don't. And then because what it means is I'm not worried about what people say.
Right.
And because I haven't done social media, I don't have to worry about being cancelled. I found it very hard as a teacher during the Me Too movement. I ran into a bit of problems because I was suddenly, as a man my age, teaching younger people. When I wanted to talk about something in the text that was sex related, you could see them go, you're out of they just were. And I found I had a couple of quite difficult years. I think coming out of COVID is also very difficult at the moment because people got more addicted.
Right.
But I think you've got to be aware of it. You've got to understand it's important, incumbent upon you to understand the addiction process is not good for your acting or for your career or for work ethic.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your advice. Do you ever get stage fright?
I had it once badly when I did Les Miserables, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got it very badly.
How did that happen?
I'd been doing the show for about 8 months, and I looked off stage, and when I was singing, and I can't say what people were doing, but they were doing something very naughty in the wings. And I laughed at myself and thought, and then I hadn't realised I'd sung something, and I didn't know where I was.
Oh, okay.
And I went, well, have I already? And I got a little virus in my brain.
Okay.
Because the next night when I went on stage, I kept thinking. And
about that moment.
Yeah.
Oh.
It got very, very bad. And I had to go to an occupational therapist who dealt with stroke victims.
Wow.
And they were able to give me some exercises. And also the first thing they did was to take me off coffee.
Okay.
Because caffeine
Makes
is not
sense.
very good.
Yeah.
And I was drinking, the more coffee I drink, the more nervous I'd make. So, but I went through a process. It's still there, which is why meditation's very, very good. Transcendental meditation or TM or Vedic meditation. And it's surprising how many actors actually have benefited by it.
By meditation.
By meditation.
Yeah.
It's better than beta blockers or drugs because
Sure.
a lot of actors are on medication now. A lot of people are.
Yeah. How about any embarrassing moment on stage?
Oh. I remember wanting to go to the toilet once very badly, and I had a lot of costume and a lot of layers and a fat suit and everything. I don't need a fat suit now. And I had to hold it all up like that, and I remember going to the toilet and I wet myself, and I had to then make an entrance,
Wow.
and my costume was all wet, so I
Oh my
weed
God.
myself. So I had to walk on stage with a glass and go, oh, and trip.
Smart
And
move.
pretend that I'd spilt water all over myself. I think, but that was a long time ago. Embarrassing. Doing Les Miserables, the bridge didn't come in one day for the suicide, so I had to go off stage, and I came on and there's no bridge. And then I remember the conductor just got the telephone and then rang and then didn't know what to do, and then just stopped the orchestra and crouched down, and I was left alone on stage.
Wow.
So I went off, and then they started it again, and it didn't come on again. So instead of jumping,
Yeah.
I sang, and so I jumped.
So you
Yeah.
sang instead.
I just instead there was no jump, nothing to jump off.
Yeah.
I just sort of pretended I was jumping.
Yeah. So like even like how no matter how prepared you are, and also you said that you always leave room for possibility, you know. So what do you think is the key here for young talents to remember, because you know unexpected things happen on stage all the time.
Well, look, there's a line in Shakespeare
Okay.
that says, in Julius Caesar, cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a coward, you're going to keep dying all the time in your life before you die. Life's too short. But the brave are only going to die once.
Okay.
And it goes on to say, of all the wonders that I yet have seen, it seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come. Now, I have an attitude, and it's not because I'm older, but if you're going to die, and we all are going to, what's the point in wasting time thinking that all these other things, judgment, are going to be worse than you're wasting time. And that's why education is really important.
Yes.
To put students and people in a situation where they feel they can learn to be brave, make a mistake, in an environment that they're not. Well, you can laugh at people sometimes, but then you also have to laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
If you learn to laugh at yourself and go, oh, and get embarrassed and think, well, I didn't die. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Really, and that's why I suppose I don't want to give advice. It works for me. I just know that if I was on social media and I read something about me, I wouldn't be able to function.
Mm.
It doesn't do you any good. So why go there?
Sure.
Just don't do it.
But I think we've got some good advice from you. You know, like when you said being able to laugh at yourself is also important. Because I feel like when you're strong enough to look at the bad sides of you, I feel like there's no limit anymore.
Well, when you're sorry, bumped the microphone. When you watch children, because I play school too, but when you watch children play, they get up and they fall over, and they cry, and they get up and like someone I know from even being a parent, if your kid's doing something wrong, instead of going, why did you do that? You sort of go, or they're about to do something, you'll go, hey, look at that. And the kid goes, and they forget about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you don't say to a student, or if they do something, why did you do that?
Uh-huh.
No. Just say, well, that was fun. And they'll go, yeah. Is there another way?
Oh.
Possibility is wonderful. It's a fantastic thing. But I see young people, when they're little babies, they really laugh at everything. It's curiosity.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But as we get older, we get more insecure about ourselves, right?
Yes, and it's partly because once you get in one job day after day after day, then you're locked in. That's why I always wanted to try something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that takes financial security, you know, because we all want for financial security.
Right.
But
Yeah.
again, I've turned down a lot of jobs that have had no money or a lot of money because, and I believe that if you have a positive attitude, money will come to you.
Yes.
Because if you walk in saying hi for a job, you'll get the job. If you walk in showing fear, I want this job, you're not going to get the job. Subconsciously, the director will go, oh, that person's needy. If you go in like, yeah, what can I do? They'll go, I think I can create something with you. It's a small adjustment, but we need to create environments where that can happen in education.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So this is a fun question.
Yeah.
If you have something to say for your 20-year-old self, what would you say?
My 10-year-old self.
20.
20-year-old self.
20-year-old. Would you like to change anything or
Absolutely not.
how were you when you were 20?
I think the same as I am now.
Wow, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a bit slower and a bit older, but you know, I'll see something go, how does that
Always curious.
How does that work? Curiosity.
Curiosity.
That's what I'd like on my grave. Always curious.
Aw.
Alas. No, but I think I would. It's curiosity. How's it put together? You know? How's it? Because curiosity and curious is a very interesting word. A curio is if something is it causes you is something that causes interest.
Yes.
So I don't think I'd say anything different at all. What a waste of time to be. No, part of me laments a little bit of depression that if I've ever had any is there are so many things I would have liked to have done. I think that I could have been as good a carpenter as I was an actor. I love fishing because I love knots and I love seeing current and I like going, and studying the tide charts. And I'm a good fisherman because I watch. I would love to have grown orchids. I would love to have been an archaeologist because you still need the same imagination. You know, you've got to find and then work out how it goes. You still have elements, you know, that sort of stuff. Paleontologist.
Yeah.
Fossils, you know, finding them. Anthropology. It's all the same thing as acting. I don't see it any different.
But I think it's your rich life experience that helps you a lot in your acting.
Well, I've never thought about it being seasonal, as I told you. The thing about being on a farm is that you couldn't count on anything. There was no point living in fear that there's going to be a drought. You just had to get through it because it's going to rain.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And getting through the tough times. We'd get floods. You get literally tornadoes. The turkeys would get a disease. But if you sat there all the time going, you wouldn't get any farming done. You just have to do it.
Yeah. So keep doing it. Be curious. Be diverse. And believe in yourself, right?
Believe in others.
Believe in others as well.
Generosity, want the best for other people. And the more that you can genuinely want your friend's success and be pleased for your friend's success, the more that will come back on you.
Yeah.
Because if you're jealous, it's going to eat you up and you can't create.
Yeah. Those are valuable life and career advice that we have learned from you.
Thank you.
You so much
Oh, thank you.
for your stories today. I mean, words can describe how touched I am talking to you. I feel very lucky.
Well, thank you. You're a very
such a
good
blessing.
interviewer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you seem interested. That's why.
I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious.
Well,
I
because
know
you're
nothing
interested,
about
then I
acting.
can talk. If you're not,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that our viewers and listeners have definitely learned something. A lot of things. So once again, best of luck for you.
Ta.
And we hope to welcome you in Vietnam.
That'd be
We'll have a Vespa ready or an electric bike ready for you in Vietnam. And for our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for watching. The YOUniverse podcast will be back with many exciting and interesting stories. So subscribe to our channel. And for now, goodbye.
bye.